the world of My Hero Academia, quirks are as important as breathing. They're the kind of powers that defy imagination and add a layer of excitement to the story. From Endeavor's glorious display of Prominence Burn to All Might's legendary United States of Smash, these are the top 20 showcases of power in My Hero Academia. Starting the list, we have Shigaraki's first awakening and his intense battle against Redestro. It's an epic and ultimate showdown between the leaders of the two villain organizations, and it's so refreshing to see them tandem duke it out as compared to the usual hero versus villain. Anyway, Redestro's meta ability Stress allows him to store up any feelings of fear, frustration or anger and convert them to raw power. On the other hand, Shigaraki uses his quirk Decay to disintegrate anything he touches. Initially, Redestro outclasses Shigaraki in terms of strength, but soon enough Redestro realized that he'd been playing with fire as Shigaraki was in the middle of his awakening. He dons his Claustro armor and attacks Shigaraki with 100% stress. However, Shigaraki completely disintegrates his attack, making Redestro feel terrified. Now Shigaraki unleashes his world-ending attack and destroyed every single thing in the vicinity. The way he let go of his evil powers still gives me chills. With a more recent moment now, we have Deku versus Class A. After awakening the quirks of 4th and 6th users, Deku grew even stronger than before. With Shigaraki and One for All's escape, he left UA High to keep his friends out of danger and to look for the members of the League of Villains. He'd been looking for them without any success for weeks and was exhausted to the point that he nearly collapsed. Now the entire Class A started looking for Deku to help out with the mission. As his friends closed in, wielding their quirks like weapons of persuasion, Deku's mind raced with conflicting emotions. He couldn't bring himself to hurt them, yet he couldn't afford to yield. Now, even when Deku was extremely exhausted, he soloed all of his friends. All of them tried to stop him in their own way, but bro wasn't ready to stop even though he was at 1%. It's shocking to see how Bakugo and Todoroki couldn't stop him from using their strengths combined. This makes us wonder what Deku could do if he were feeling his best. Could he surpass All Might? Well, we'll never know. Not yet anyway. Next up, we have a very interesting villain from My Hero Academia, the self-proclaimed insane guy with a personality disorder and the moment where Twice goes infinite. Twice's quirk allows him to create a duplicate of anything, including himself. Twice started duplicating himself initially because he was a lonely man and needed some company. How did he become a villain? Well, he doesn't have any bitter feelings towards anyone. He's just a vulnerable man who finds comfort in the League of Villains, specifically Toga. In this specific scene, Skeptic's army of Twice puppets attempts to kill Toga and Twice completely loses it. He makes doubles of himself who also make doubles of themselves, and the doubling just continues. Twice names this ultimate move Sad Man's Parade, which allows him to make infinite clones of himself. It's impressive to see how quickly Twice overcame his trauma and helped Toga, who was at death's door. He also helped the League of Villains with balancing their manpower against Meta Liberation Army. Twice literally became one of the most popular villains in the anime, but is it safe to keep him alive? Now, let's talk about Deku's glorious display of power against Overhaul. Just like every other villain in My Hero Academia, Overhaul wanted the world to return back to the days when quirks didn't exist. His twisted ways of manipulating and hurting people forced our heroes to take action against him. In this fight, we see Deku's true power potential, thanks to Erie's Rewind quirk. We get to see Deku using 100% of One for All. His full strength allows him to defy the laws of physics and lets him strike faster even than the speed of thought. Moments like Deku unleashing a barrage of attacks, causing the blows to seemingly delay in their impact and summoning an entire army of fists from the sky to strike down Overhaul are evidence of the fact that there's a lot more to One for All than it seems. The legendary fight between Deku and Overhaul ends with Deku landing a single punch on Overhaul, causing him to collapse right away. This fight was such a treat to the eyes because of its stunning visuals. It's also one of the most iconic moments when Deku showcases his insane powers.
見ていない。こんな未来を。ヒーローは絶対に諦めねえ。
Talking about insane powers, we have one tough hero from My Hero Academia who got introduced to us very late in the series. We're talking about Mirko, the number 5 pro hero, and when she went berserk. She has a fierce combat style and is always up for some action. In this scene, Mirko is up against a bunch of high-end Nomus who are stopping her from hunting down Dr. Garaki. Mirko enjoys the wild rush of battle and prepares to face the Nomus who are ready to pounce on her any time. Even when she's outnumbered and injured, she keeps moving forward and brutally kills the Nomus who are coming in her way. One Nomu twisted and destroyed her forearm, but the bunny hero decided to ignore her pain and focus on the mission at hand, capturing Dr. Garaki. She kept pushing herself even after a part of her right ear was torn off and getting her leg brutally bitten by a Nomu. Mirko's debut in My Hero Academia left us all cheering with her jaw-dropping display of power and fearless bravery. She's not just a hero, she's a heart stealer. Moving on, in an epic display of strength, Deku and Bakugo take the cake in their blood-pumping battle against the villain 9. 9 was first introduced in My Hero Academia the movie Heroes Rising as an extremely formidable villain who had a quirk similar to All For One. Let's just say he had a weaker version of All For One. In his fight against Deku and Bakugo, he gave both the boys a very tough time. Deku is forced to give One For All to Bakugo, and boy oh boy did the battle get intense. Both Deku and Bakugo, now backed by One For All's power, showed 9 who the real boss is. They started breaking 9's air wall and clearing up the powerful storm that 9 was creating using his quirk. In their final attack, Deku prepared a powerful finishing kick towards 9 and Bakugo his final explosion. In a jaw-dropping showcase of power, both Deku and Bakugo defeat 9 once and for all. This was such an amazing moment in the movie, paired up with the emotional background music.
僕の放つ最後の
Smashing its way onto our list, we have a fight between Deku and Muscular, a villain affiliated with the League of Villains and the one responsible for the death of Gota Izumi's parents. While Deku and others went on a training camp in a forest, they met Gota Izumi, a boy who felt very jaded towards the heroes and their work because of what had happened to his parents. After having an argument with Deku, Gota isolated himself in his secret hideout. Little did he know he'd be coming face to face with his worst nightmare, Muscular. When Muscular found the boy alone, he decided to crush him, but thankfully Deku came to his rescue before that happened. Initially, Deku took a lot of beating and couldn't get Muscular down even after using his One For All at 100%. He was practically a toy for Muscular, who was enjoying playing with him, swinging and smashing him around. After getting completely crushed, Gota uses his weak quirk against Muscular, which regains Deku's fighting spirit. In a stunning display of power, Deku uses his 1,000,000% Delaware Detroit smash, breaking apart Muscular's muscle fibers, tearing down his defense, and smashing him against the rock wall. To be fair, none of us saw that coming.
なんで
In the next entry, we'll be talking about the crowd favorite Todoroki showing off his epic power move, Flash Fire Jet Kindling. An interesting fact about this ultimate move is that Todoroki uses both his half hot and half cold side to balance the attack. The debut of this attack was against Leviathan, a powerful villain working under Fleck Turn. Initially, Todoroki's attacks didn't seem to work on him. Imagine Todoroki's burning flames not working on a villain. Sounds scary now, doesn't it? Anyway, Leviathan wastes no time trying to approach Todoroki with a killing intent, bombarding him with his lethal attacks. Todoroki attempts to freeze Leviathan's tendrils, which he quickly regenerates after they get destroyed. Using his quirk, Helical Scythe, Leviathan creates a gigantic version of himself that swallows him, burning Todoroki under the extreme heat of fire. But hey, can you defeat fire with fire? Todoroki doesn't let the villain overwhelm him and concentrates all the power of his flames to the highest point, blasting Leviathan with his newfound ultimate move, Flash Fire Jet Kindling. It was refreshing to see Todoroki getting the limelight he deserved. Boy definitely has a lot of potential if they stop nerfing him.
動きを予測するんだ。 これまでの全てが無駄になったわけじゃない。俺は依然ルミリオンだ。
Next up, we have Lemillion versus Overhaul. He's a character who almost became the next All Might because before Deku, he was the most suitable candidate for inheriting All Might's quirk. Boy even looks like All Might as well, you know. Talking about his quirk, permeation defies the laws of nature and allows Lemillion to pass through solid materials seamlessly. Such a convenient quirk, isn't it? It basically makes Lemillion invincible. In this specific scene, Lemillion finds Overhaul, who'd been taking Eri as a hostage. Lemillion quickly takes hold of Eri and now he can finally focus on beating up Overhaul. Lemillion uses his raw power against Overhaul, punching and kicking him hard. Overhaul had an idea that he wouldn't be able to beat Lemillion because of his permeation quirk. He shot Lemillion with a quirk erasing bullet, but that wasn't enough to stop Lemillion. He absolutely dominated Overhaul, sticking to his guns and predicting Overhaul's movements. Overhaul is absolutely baffled by Lemillion's power and determination to get rid of him. He was forced to wonder just who on earth Lemillion was, having so much willpower and bravery. Even though Overhaul manages to injure Lemillion, he still stands victorious, having protected Eri from the clutches of evil.
私もあなたみたいに
Shaking up this list with a villain from My Hero Academia, we have Himiko Toga when she used Ochako's abilities, who is a prime example of how seemingly innocent powers can be so deadly. This happened during the beef between the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army. Thanks to this battle, Toga's transform quirk has powered up and now allows her not only to transform into a person, but also copy their quirk too. As the League of Villains enter Dakar City, they find themselves ambushed by the Meta Liberation Army. Toga was targeted by Curious, one of the MLA leaders, along with her army of goons. Now, Toga's quirk isn't suited to use against a large group of people. She's absolutely dominated by the MLA, who beat her near to death. After that, Toga drinks blood from her stash and turns into Ochako. She was struggling to escape as the MLA kept cornering her. In her desperation to survive and to get out of the mess, Toga ended up gaining Ochako's powers. She swiftly touched all the MLA soldiers, including Curious, and made them float in the air. In an absolutely gorgeous showcase of power, Toga joined her fingers like Ochako and made the MLA soldiers plummet to the ground. All of them died on impact. So if you don't want to fall out of the sky, smash that subscribe button.
気に入らないのは壊すんだもんね。戸村くん。
Are you enjoying the showcase of power in MHA so far? If so, please give a like to this video and subscribe to this channel and help your boy out. We've got a lot more anime content coming soon and wouldn't want you to miss it, so go ahead, like and subscribe to ViniiTube. Thank you very much.
次の僕さ。
Shigaraki's back on the list, and this time he shows the world how terrifying his powers are as he rescues the world's most dangerous criminals from a very tight security facility, Tartarus. It was all planned by All For One within Tomura in order to retrieve his true body from Tartarus. The attack is initiated by 3 near high-end Nomus who instantly kill 2 heroes, and just like that, Tomura and his minions destroy the security checkpoints of Tartarus, letting all the criminals break free from their cells. Shigaraki's decay quirk always comes in handy when he needs to ensue chaos, and this time it helped him destroy the most essential structures of the building, helping the criminals all the more. This incident was very important because it let One For All escape those who had been plotting evil plans against our heroes. It also shows how terrifying Shigaraki's powers are, coupled with the high-end Nomus who were created for the purpose of nothing but death and destruction.
やりようあるんだ。
Talking about Shigaraki, we can't ignore his glorious display of power against our heroes after his second awakening. He's got back-to-back entries on our video, but there's no doubt this man deserves it. After our heroes did everything in their power to stop Dr. Garaki from awakening Shigaraki, who was resting in the capsule, Shigaraki still awakens thanks to a spark of electricity that jolts him. This moment was a nightmare for all the heroes because Shigaraki started destroying every single thing as soon as he woke up. A bunch of heroes got tangled up in the mess he created, losing their lives. The city was still undergoing evacuation situation when Shigaraki started wreaking havoc, and he made it clear to all the heroes that they were messing with the wrong person with a terrifying display of a fraction of his powers. Using his decay quirk incredibly well, Shigaraki's power spread far and wide, turning the bustling city into rubble. This incident is evidence of the fact that Shigaraki had become even more powerful than before, and our heroes would need more than the power of their quirks to take him down. This list is incomplete without mentioning All For One's horrifying showcase of powers when he faced the Hideout raid team led by Best Jeanist. The heroes went to a secret Nomu factory in order to secure them. Little did they know they were heading towards their own demise. Initially, all was going well when the heroes broke into the factory and subdued all the Nomus using their quirks. The heroes might have thought that the mission was too easy for them until they saw a sinister man appear before them. Now that sinister man was none other than All For One. Best Jeanist takes action and binds All For One with fibers, but it's All For One we're talking about here, isn't it? He breaks free of the fibers without breaking a sweat and blasts the entire team of heroes. All For One takes an interest in the number 4 hero Best Jeanist before blasting an air cannon towards him, making his torso gush out blood and crushing the ground beneath him. Before turning to Best Jeanist, All For One had already destroyed the rest of the heroes, forcing them to feel the terror of his power.
All For One.
さてやるか。
ワン・フォー・オール・フルカウル、インパクト 45%、 デトロイトスマッシュ。
This meeting was even shorter than their previous one. This fight between Deku and Muscular was significant in a couple of ways. One of the most important is that we get to see Deku's full progression as an actual fighter. In his previous showdown against Muscular, Deku did have some trouble putting up with Muscular, but this time Deku knew how much power to use and where to hit his opponent. That's how he was able to one-shot Muscular. Initially, he wanted Muscular to surrender on his own as he didn't want any bloodshed, so when that didn't work, he started sympathizing with him, and when Muscular wasn't showing any signs of backing down without a fight, Deku used the one-for-all, full-cal Detroit Smash, defeating Muscular with a single punch. This short-lived fight is evident from the fact that Deku had worked on himself to become a better hero and a better fighter. Lighting up the stage, we have another fight between the members of the two villain groups, the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army. We're talking about Darby and Getten, who possess quirks that are polar opposites of each other. Darby's quirk allows him to generate highly destructive blue flames from his body, while Getten's meta ability allows him to generate and manipulate ice at will. As the other members of the two villain groups are battling against each other, Darby and Getten decide to have a showdown of their own. Even though Darby mentioned that fire melts ice in order to scare him before their fight, Getten was more than ready to face him, telling him that his superficial flames wouldn't be able to melt his ice. Getten was actually right. Darby's flames couldn't melt Getten's glorious ice mountains. Darby was only wearing himself out by using his flames again and again. Getten mentioned to Darby that he could even manipulate the temperature of the ice before killing hundreds of clones of Twice that had been running rogue against the MLA soldiers. After displaying his stunning power move, Getten mentioned that Darby wouldn't be able to fight for long as his body was burning from his own flames. Getten isn't wrong though. Darby's body really smelt like it was burning.
この町氷が特産か。量がおかしいぜ。氷を操ると言ったはずだが。
We're finally into the top 5 of this list, and let's start it with All Might's incredible display of Plus Ultra, that too for the very first time. This happened in the first season of My Hero Academia when Tomura and Kurogiri, accompanied by Anomu, infiltrated the UA High Plaza, interrupting the training of our future heroes. Even though All Might wasn't present at the site when the villains appeared, he rushed there when he ran into Tenya, having known all about the conflict that was happening there. As soon as he got there, All Might came face to face with Anomu, who started absorbing All Might's attacks, countering them with a punch. Even with his strength rapidly declining, All Might engages Nomu in an intense fistfight. Their fight created shockwaves with each strike that kept everybody away from them. After dominating the Nomu and sending him flying towards the ground from high in the air, All Might delivers a final dynamic smash to the Nomu that he named Plus Ultra, sending the Nomu flying out of the UA High.
やはり衰えた。全盛期なら5発も撃てば十分だったろうに。
ありがとな。
We're Moving on, we have an intense battle between two friends, Deku and Todoroki, both trying to prove their capabilities. This fight happened during the UA's Sports Festival Fighting Tournament. It was a time when Deku didn't get used to his newfound powers. On the other hand, Todoroki was all fueled up and had full control over his. As the fight starts, Todoroki attacks Deku with an ice wave that he breaks apart using his Delaware Smash. Todoroki keeps sending massive ice waves towards Deku's waves that he barely manages to keep away from him. As a result, he breaks his fingers and injures his arm. This wasn't enough for Todoroki to break Deku's spirit. Deku kept provoking Todoroki to come at him with full power. As Todoroki closed the distance between him and Deku, Deku landed a solid punch in Todoroki's stomach, shocking the audience. Having successfully provoked Todoroki, Deku forced him to use the flames that he didn't want to use before. Both the heroes charge up their quirks to attack each other, and when they did attack each other, they ended up destroying the whole stadium. It was one epic display of power from both sides, and is an absolute fan favorite.
緑役場外
スールトラプロミネンス
The third spot is secured by none other than Endeavor, the #1 pro hero, but second only to All Might. Endeavor had always been a pretty strong hero with an arsenal of powerful techniques, with Prominence Burn being at the top. He used this technique for the first time against Hood, an extremely dangerous high-end Nomu who was capable of regenerating. Endeavor used the full might of his flames to produce a concentrated beam of heat from his body that could vaporize its target. This super move is so powerful that it completely negates Hood's regenerative ability. The Nomu was able to save himself by moving its head out of range for the first time, but boy oh boy, for the second time, the Nomu was completely incinerated as it became the victim of this power move. Everybody watched the scene in horror as Endeavor destroyed Nomu completely, showing everybody that he definitely deserves the #1 spot as a pro hero. It was so hot that it lit up the entire sky, and not to mention, the Nomu he fought was one of the strongest we've ever seen in the entire series. Even though it was a hard fight, it was great for his character development. Pushing forward to one of the most hyped scenes, we have Deku's blood-pumping battle against Fleck-Turn, the leader of Humorize. Fleck-Turn wanted to rid the world of heroes, basically everybody with a quirk. For that, he created a cult and spread a number of trigger bombs all around the world that would kill everybody with a quirk. To stop that from happening, our heroes traveled all around the world and finally came across Fleck-Turn, the main culprit behind the crime. Fleck-Turn's quirk Reflect allowed him to reflect any attack and its effect back at its user. It's a very dangerous ability that makes one nearly invincible. In his fight against Deku, Fleck-Turn made him feel the effect of his own quirk by repelling it towards him. Deku kept trying to attack Fleck-Turn again and again, only to be repelled and smacked down in return. This didn't stop Deku from attacking Fleck-Turn, and as a result, Deku's constant attacks started having an effect on Fleck-Turn's ability. By the end of the fight, both Deku and Fleck-Turn were evenly matched and hit each other hard until Deku unleashed his full cowl at 100%. Deku starts bombarding Fleck-Turn with a barrage of lightning-quick punches, overwhelming Fleck-Turn. The animation was godly, and seeing Deku dish out so many punches faster than we can see them just looks so cool. And at #1, of course, we have the #1 hero himself, All Might, and his United States of Smash that rocked the entire anime community out of their seats. This move was used against All Might's nemesis, One for All. It's the most powerful move in the vast arsenal of All Might's abilities. All Might activates these moves by concentrating all of his remaining power into his fist and smashing his opponent. In this specific fight against All for One, All Might is forced to use this power move as his strength has been declining at a relatively fast pace. Even after transforming into his weaker form, All Might kept going, trying to defeat All for One. With no option left, All Might focuses the remaining embers of One for All into his right arm and attacks his opponent with full power, defeating him as a result. All Might made it clear to All for One that even though he'd lost his shine, he'd still be above him no matter what. This is one of the most hyped fights in My Hero Academia, and it left an impact on not just My Hero Academia fans, but all anime lovers. And with that, we're wrapping up this list of the top 20 showcases of power in My Hero Academia. I'm sure we've got a lot more powers to witness in this season. However, we must have missed out some of your favourites, so don't keep us hanging and be sure to comment down below any instances you think that should have made this list. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of this juicy content.